and welcome into another episode of the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Podcast. My name is Andrew Laird, Senior Soccer Editor of RotoWire. Joining this Friday, what do we got here? February 5th by Jordan Cooper to talk about Saturday's Premier League slate. Jordan, we were teased a little bit earlier this week with some simultaneous starts. I guess we do get some on Saturday, but we're back to our 9 to 5s.
Yeah, we're going to be playing all day. I mean, and then most of the exposure in your lineup may come in the late game.
Fun,
great. Can't wait.
Yeah. 4-game slate. We got Burnley at Brighton, Burnley home against Brighton, Newcastle home against Southampton as the 10 a.m. Eastern starts. Fulham, West Ham at 12:30. Please settle down. I know it's all very exciting here. And then 3 o'clock, Man United home against Everton.
And they're the biggest favorites. So Man United are minus 171. That's the highest total game, but it's still only 2 3/4. And then the rest are kind of pick'ems. I mean, it's all away favorites, but I mean over even money. And Brighton Burnley is the lowest total at 2, and the other two are like 2.5, 2 1/4.
At best, yeah.
And the pricing on the slate is fair.
That's a nice way to put it.
Well, is that too nice? I think it's fair. I don't think it's overpriced or underpriced. I think it's mostly fair.
I don't think that's a term you've ever used for it. We usually say efficient. Fair makes it does sound nicer.
It does. You're right. It does sound a little bit nicer. I think mostly efficient. There are some players that I don't know. I mean, they'll be low owned. Like, why is Souček 7,000?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, why is Pogba 7,100? But I mean, like in that range, maybe we could find some overpriced players. But for the most part, I mean, based on the lineup construction and the matchups, I think for the most part, I mean, you can build a lineup. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's any players on the slate based on their prices that I'm like, gotta jam them in, no matter what.
I agree with that. But I also don't think there might be one, maybe two, but like of guys who are like, he's so expensive, there's no way I'm playing him.
Right. But I don't even care about those guys. Like those are not even in contention. I'm talking about the playable players.
Yeah.
Like the biggest decision on the slate, very similar to the last one, is do you pay 10-8 for Bruno Fernandes? And I think on the context of the slate that you do.
You think it's more of a discussion than I do.
You can build a lineup with him. But, I mean, he's 10-8. He's fine. I mean, in GPP, I could see making lineups without him.
Yep.
But the question comes in the forward spot. We do have some floor-based forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite possible we may have some iffy but cheap upside values.
Yep.
And you can make a combination of a bunch of them. So the question comes in, it's kind of weird to say at the forward position that the biggest choice that you have to make is, do you pay $9,200 for Pascal Gross? You're nodding your head.
No.
You could. March is out.
I think not only in the context of the slate, but particularly the pricing of everybody else, Gross is the most overpriced player on the slate.
Out of the playable pieces.
Yeah.
Because he's playable. I mean, we could talk about guys that, are you paying $7,500 for Dwight Gale? No, you're not.
Right.
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yes.
But in the playable range,
in the true cash game player pool, I think Gross is apologies, grossly overpriced.
I think he would be fine if Man United weren't on the slate.
Sure.
I think it comes down to, like, you wouldn't mind paying $9,200 for Gross and overpaying if you didn't have to pay 10-8 for Bruno.
Sure. I would, if Man United wasn't on the slate, Gross would be like 11,000.
Okay, and then he'd still be like, who else are you going to play? But I mean, I guess. But I mean, I'd rather pay $9,200 for Gross than $9,500 for Rashford.
Sure.
Cash. Okay. I mean, let's Antonio's 8,800. Like, you're not going to do that either. So like now Gross doesn't become as gross. It's more of the price range. It's not necessarily like if Pascal Gross was like 8,200, then the whole lineup comes together much better.
Yep.
It's just that playing Pascal Gross at 9,200 in the forward spot and Bruno in the midfield spot takes you away from like an expensive defender or the second forward. Like it ruins your lineup construction as a whole. But I don't think on this slate you have to pay more than. I don't think you have to pay more than 7,800, but you're more likely to pay not more than 7,600 for your forwards.
Yep. No, I totally agree with that. I think the difficulty with Gross is you're basically choosing him over Bruno because you're probably not playing both of them. And then you're like,
I mean, you could play both of them, but you're gonna have to punt at a couple of places that you'd rather not.
I think you're making the rest of your lineup incredibly suboptimal with both of them.
Okay.
And so you're then going, actually, I'm going to take this $1,600 savings and not play the best play on the slate so I can play Pascal Gross in a forward spot when there are like 6 other guys I could play.
True.
So that's the Pascal Gross decision.
Would you play? Yeah, but would you play Trossard at 8,300? Like, I wouldn't do that.
Not if Gross starts.
Right. And then James as the biggest underdog on the slate, I'm not going to pay $8,200 for that.
I agree.
So really, I'm starting to get into this range where it's like Bowen at 7,800, Lookman at 7,600, and Dwight McNeil at 6,900.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Lookman, as long as Cavallero isn't in, I mean, I think Lookman's the better play out of all three of them.
I'm on board with that. What do you do if Cavallero starts?
You could play Cavallero.
Right. I was going to say, like, I think the conversation is less like, do you still play Lookman? Like, does it hurt Lookman enough that you're like, no, I should just play Cavallero? Like, would you play Cavallero if he had no set pieces?
He would be doable. I'd probably play McNeil over him.
Right.
And I'm not thrilled about playing Dwight McNeil either.
Right. I agree.
Right? I'm not. Because I'm looking more in this range underneath it where I call them the upside value plays, like Ben Rama at 6,300. Because he has no role on set pieces, but he plays central attacking midfield and does shoot a lot. And he probably doesn't play 90.
He's a poor man's Antonio.
Right. And then you got what they're going to do. What is Southampton going to do with Minamino? Because from a talent perspective, he may be the best player in Southampton now. Right?
I mean, I think it's a pretty big leap of faith to play him in cash games.
Right, I know, but I mean, you have to admit that. He'll have no role in set pieces with James Ward-Prowse. It's not like he ever did anyway. But as like on Everton we have a Richarlison, the Zahas, like those guys where they have high open play value even though they don't have set pieces.
Right.
Like Minamino, we could turn out to be an $8,500 player, but we don't even know that yet. He could also turn out to be a $4,800 player.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Okay.
I think that's it, though. I don't think you're going below Minamino.
I think for value, if you needed it in the forward spot, is they still put D. Cordova-Reed as a forward, and even though he traditionally plays as a wing back, right? They play Anthony Robinson on one side and the D. Cordova-Reed on the other, and for 5,400, like if you need to fill the forward spot, I don't think that's like horrible.
Yeah, he's in the third game, second wave, so if he's out, you're basically choosing from West Ham, Everton, and Man United. And I'm not sure you're getting a forward player, actually.
Well, you'd need a 2v2 or something.
Yes.
Right? You'd already have Lookman in your lineup also. And then you also have like a defender. You may have a cheap midfielder. And you could do some type of flip or something. Yep. I'm just mentioning it because it's viable.
He's fine. Do you consider JBG at 3,600?
Ugh.
He's priced every week where you're like, Like you got to think of it.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I guess you do.
He's been horrible.
Right, and he doesn't take any set pieces anymore.
Yeah. But other than that 3,600 is pretty good.
Well, it's better than a center back.
Maybe.
But at midfield, I think the most interesting thing is what you do with your other two midfield spots. And I believe you're playing three midfielders on this slate. You're not playing three defenders.
Yep.
One of them is going to be Bruno.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, do you go two mid-range or do you go up and down? So that's the build. Currently, right now, I have the up and down build. And the up and down build contains a player that's in the 7K range. And I think the two that you'd be looking at are Ward-Prowse at 7,900. They're in the same game. And Ryan Frazier at 7,700.
It's possible.
I played Shelby last slate thinking, he's a set piece. He scored a goal, so he bailed me out.
Shocking.
But Frazier took everything.
Everything, yeah.
It's possible. Which he should be. He should be taking everything.
It's possible Richie comes back in, too.
Okay, if Richie comes back in, to me, that like eliminates me from playing Frazier at 7,700. And it doesn't mean I'm playing Richie at 8,500 either.
Right.
You, at least you're not playing Richie at 8,500, right?
I'm not.
Okay, because I say I don't play Richie at 7,000. You look at me funny.
Yes. No.
8,500 is nuts.
I'm out on Richie, but obviously Frazier. So I guess the real question is, if Frazier's out but Richie starts, do you play Shelby?
Not at 7,300.
7,300 is such a classic price where like it's probably right, but we've played him so often at 47 and 5,700, and 43 and 5,300 that like paying 7,300 feels like we're getting ripped off.
Right.
But you definitely play him over Pogba and Souček.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's mostly the dead range, like in between like 5K and 7K. There's like no one. They're all forward. Most of them are forward eligible anyway.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to start, or they're out. Because then I look, the next guy is like Westwood, and it's like, why not? I mean, you get what you get. Whatever. It's 5K.
I'm disappointed you just skipped right over Juan Mata.
He's not going to start.
But that doesn't matter. We still have to.
Doesn't matter. If he's not going to start, there's no point in me mentioning Juan Mata.
Juan Mata is always worth mentioning.
What the hell is going on with Jesse Lingard?
He's the best player in the Premier League.
Apparently. Do you think he even starts this game after just playing?
Yeah.
Really?
He scored twice. How do you bench him?
Well, he played almost the whole game.
Yeah. He's fresh, man. He hasn't played in years.
Right. He hasn't played in years. That's why.
I think there are dumber plays than Jesse Lingard.
So you think he's a dumb play?
I think he's a dumb play, and I think there are dumber plays. I think people will absolutely play him.
But what makes him a bad play at 4,900 though? It's not like he's 7,000.
Yeah, that's fair.
But to me, I view Lingard even with the two goals that he's just scored, like. What's the difference between him and Lanzini and Fornals and anyone that would play that position for West Ham? Like nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Like Fornals at 4,600, you're like, I hope he gets 2 points. Right? He either gets 2 or he gets 17 or something, right? He's one of those types of play. Same for Lanzini. Whoever's in that front three, like, is typically like, it's going to be Bowen and then two other guys. And if it's Benrahma, at least he fills a forward spot, and he's also someone that could get 3 or 17 points. So, like, for the price, like, it's just it's not, to me, I don't think the price is bad. I just think the range of outcomes is way wide.
Sure.
And the difference comes in is, like, would you rather guarantee yourself a range of, like, 4 to 6 points with Ashley Westwood? Or would you rather take the risk on Lingard, Fornals, one of those West Ham players, that could easily get 1.5.
Yeah.
And get 1.5 while playing 75 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair. Yeah.
It's not like 1.5 and it's like, and he came off for it. Like, no, actually, he played the whole game and did nothing.
I think the only benefit of Lanzini is that he has taken set pieces once before. And so there's like that. Maybe he might,
but
like,
Cresswell and Bowen out there. I mean, whatever.
I think Alan St. Maximin is better than all of them.
There's the guy. That's the guy I had in my lineup last slate.
Me too.
And I had to switch.
Me too.
Right? I got stuck with him. And my switch looked good in the very beginning, and then once Man United scores 9 goals, doesn't look so good anymore.
Do I remember correctly that you ended up without Bruno?
Yeah, because I had to think in terms, because the guys that I had left were Bruno, Shaw, and
ASM. Yep.
And ASM. So I could have switched ASM to just Harry Maguire or something and left Bruno and Shaw. My lineup was below the pace in double-ups. It was up there, but I used a lot of earlier players while other people weren't using earlier players. So I computed that I was technically behind.
Sure.
So I'm like, I know Bruno's chalk. I know Shaw's chalk. Like, what is Maguire going to do? Maguire's not going to be chalk, but am I going to have too much overlap with Bruno and Shaw that Maguire's 6 points won't even make a difference? Like, I'm still going to lose.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, how do I get rid of ADM? Which is more important, Bruno or Shaw? I thought in the defender spot with Man United set pieces, Shaw was more valuable. So I'm like, how do I switch Bruno into and Maguire into something else? Well, who's negatively correlated to Bruno? Probably Rashford for goals. So I went Rashford, Shelby. So there you go, Rashford, Shaw, Shelby. And then Shelby scores in the beginning, and I'm like, this is great. And then Bruno, first 4 goals, like, is sitting there with nothing. And I'm like,
Rashford had one too.
Goal. And I'm like, I'm great. And not anymore. Not when he scores 43 fantasy points after that.
Yeah, I was in the same situation, or at least I thought I was. Oh, last week was when I changed my cash lineup accidentally. So I was editing a GPP lineup, what I thought was a GPP lineup, and submitted it at 12:59, or no, 9:59. No, what was that, Tuesday? Yeah, 12:59. And as soon as I saw like slate lock, I realized I had made one of my GPP lineups my cash lineup, which wasn't fun. But I had Bruno, Shaw, and ASM going in the end, and I was behind, and I was like, I know everyone has Bruno, so like I ended up keeping Bruno. I kept Shaw, and I'm like, this last spot, I wasn't so far behind. I was like, this last spot's going to get me there, and I went with Fred. And Fred was absolutely crushing in the second half, and I ended up like a point short.
So you still didn't get there.
But I still didn't get there.
Right. So it would have been better off for you to switch, even though you would have still lost.
Yeah.
Right. But your calculation, you didn't get the line right.
Fred got a late committed 2 late fouls or something like I was there, and then he committed a foul and I was under.
Oh, he pulled a Jose Holebas.
It was, yeah.
That's whenever you roster Holebas in the past, and you're like, I'm winning, and it's like the 89th minute, it's like he hasn't been sent off yet.
Yeah, we right, like people want like clean sheets to show up after 60 minutes, so you know where you are. Like Holebas, you should just start the game at -1.5. Just to make sure you get there. But anyway.
Granted, Xhaka, there's plenty of those types of players.
Exactly.
Cavani, goals always start. He only gets 10 points for a goal. He's already 2 points behind.
Right.
Can you play Ruben lost his cheek here at 4,300? He was good at 3,400 last slate.
I think it's possible he doesn't play or doesn't start. And being in the second game, I think that ASM is going to be in already. So I think that's just where I go.
No, of course. But I'm just saying if ASM doesn't play. I think ASM starting at 4,400, he's underpriced.
I agree. Yeah, we said the same thing earlier this week. Yeah.
Right. Even if he plays 70 minutes, I think he's underpriced.
Right. Like when you look at ASM 44, Almiron 72, Shelby 73, Frazier 77, Richie 85. Like... That's off.
And even if like someone like Jacob Murphy starts at 3,900, I think he's fine.
I wish he was defender eligible since he always plays as a right back.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But then outside of that, once you go below that, it's hello, Fred.
I think Fred's a fine play.
Right. But I think that's what you're doing at the two other spots. If you go up and down, you're playing something like Frazier, Fred. And if you're not going up and down, you're doing something like ASM and Westwood and then goalkeeper or something. I don't know. You do something like that.
That mid-range is just awful.
Garbage, right. Because you could also play Ward-Prowse and Fred. You could play Bowen in a midfield spot even and do that. But at some point, maybe you have to consider maybe instead of going up and down, you do something like Westwood and ASM or ASM and Loftus-Cheek and then just pay up for a De Gea or something. Or you pay up for Cresswell in your second defender spot.
Yeah, I think that's more reasonable, yeah.
Right, or something like that.
Yeah, like the upper tier defenders in their price range are significantly better than the midfielders.
Yes. But we may get a cheapy defender, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But basically the top two defenders on the slate are Shaw and Cresswell. Right? That's it.
And I think Shaw is like considerably better.
Yes. At 6,700. Luke Shaw. But everyone in the mid-range, like, I don't think there's a point. Like, Kufal and Tet and Robinson, like, why?
You play him because you have the salary.
Right, but that would be the only reason. Like, yep. I'm not going out of my way.
Yep.
To me, the guy that I want to see in Southampton's lineup is Ramsey.
Yeah.
Because Valerie's gone. He went to Birmingham City, so he's not going to be there.
Yep.
And if Kyle Walker-Peters is out, like, who else do they have? They're going to play this kid.
He's made
2,700.
He's made 2 career starts in the Premier League. One last week or earlier this week, and one 2 seasons ago. He's played Man City and Man United. That's it.
That's all he does. That's all he plays.
Yeah. Like, he was awful last week, but they were down not to 10 men like 2 minutes in.
Right, and then down to 9 men.
But then 9, yeah.
Right. As the biggest underdog on the slate.
Right.
So yeah, probably not getting forward much in that scenario.
Probably not. And he's the early part of the slate anyway, so we'll know at lock if he's in or not.
Right. The lineups that I want to know are early. I think I'm less concerned about the Man United lineup because let's say Shaw's not in, I just play Telles.
Right.
Most likely Bruno's in. I don't see a scenario where he's not in. So like those are the guys that and Fred, I could always switch to some garbage guy. I mean,
sure.
Who cares? It's 34. It's Fred. Even if I am playing him, but I want to see what the Newcastle lineup is.
Yeah.
Richie, Frazier, Shelby, that type of situation. I want to see Brighton. I want to see how they're going to line up. You never know. McNeil doesn't start for Burnley, and then you play Robbie Brady or something like that. Who knows? Then you play JBG. Or that just makes Westwood a better play.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about Burnley. They're not priorities. The only guy you know is going to start is James Ward-Prowse because I don't think he ever comes off the field. Has he ever been substituted this season? I mean, literally this season.
That's a good question.
All I see are 90s.
Yeah, you're correct.
Like he literally plays every single game, every single Premier League game for Southampton and never gets substituted.
So, do you want to know how many minutes he played last season? 38 starts. It's 3,420 minutes is the entire season.
Okay.
How many do you think Ward-Prowse played?
All of them.
Every single second.
Last season, he played all 38 games, and he played 90 minutes in all of them.
Every game in a COVID rescheduled season. And he has started this season 1890 of 1890.
Which means if you play him this week, he gets injured.
Right.
14th minute. Uh-oh.
Is there any reason not to play Nick Pope?
No, he's going to be the most popular goalkeeper. against Brighton as a home at 4,200. No, there you go. There's the goalkeeper, which means -6.
I really can't see the -6 happening.
Well, we'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you're playing him.
If I'm playing him, yeah.
But I mean, I think all of the home underdog keepers, Darlow, Areola, Pope, are all the same. So why not save the 400?
Right.
Right. It's more of that type of thing. But if you like your lineup and it ends up with 4,600 remaining, then you're playing Darlow, Areola at 4,400. I think that's going to be the range. You're either doing that or you're paying up for De Gea.
I don't see a world where you're playing Fabianski.
No, you're not going to pay 5,200. You'll find the 500 and get up to why. 24 points incoming. There you go. That guarantees that. I don't see a world where you play the goalkeeper that ends up with 24 points.
Yeah, I think it's an easy slate.
It's not an easy slate. The more that you think it's an easy slate, the worse that you typically do, right? If you build your lineup at that when the lineups come, an hour before lock, and 2 minutes later you're like, I got it, it's perfect. Those are the slates where you lose all your money.
The problem is that 2 minutes in, you still have 4 lineups to go. Like, you still don't even know who's playing in the next 2 games.
Right.
Which is always fun. All right. Anybody has any follow-up for Jordan, you can find him on Twitter at Blenderhead. That is BlenderHD. You can find me at RotoWire Andrew. You can also find Jordan, all of Jordan's stuff at theoryofdfs.com. Is the YouTube channel also /theoryofdfs?
No, it's /Jordan Cooper.
Oh, okay. YouTube.com/Jordan Cooper. There's some fantastic resources there to becoming a better daily fantasy sports player. I highly recommend it, so check that out. If you are not a RotoWire subscriber, and would like to try us out, you can go to rotowire.com/pod. That's POD. Get you 10 free days to the site, get you access to all of the soccer tools and pages that we have. So feel free to check that out. Jordan, thank you for that, and good luck on Saturday.